that would have impacted at least % of the market. That proposal was unveiled about a year ago and immediately prompted bipartisan backlash, with Republicans accusing the White House of waging a war on gas and putting its green agenda ahead of American consumers.
While Americans suffer under the weight of inflation that has not let up, it wasn't transitory. The Biden administration is trying to make Americans' lives even more expensive.
Gas stoves became
Figured that one out, did you?
Flashpoint last year when a member of the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission said they represent a health hazard. But the White House immediately clarified that no ban was under consideration, and the new rules are all about saving money.
They are projected to save Americans approximately $1.6 billion on their utility bills over 30 years. And so this administration is always committed to using every tool at our disposal to lower costs.
Now the fight is expected to look at a stove city in
They're
Wellington,
idiots.
Rivera, Fox News.
Well, we were successful in stopping a potential migrant shelter that was going to have 50 or so young male migrants move in with a group of seniors at a senior residence. We were very concerned about this because the seniors deserve to have their residence that's peaceful, dedicated to them, and they were going to take away the community room away from them. And so we researched the property. We found that they received state tax credits. As part of the lease, it had to remain a senior residence only, which means 62 and older. We also found where they were planning to put the migrants would have been a violation of building code as well as fire code, which is not safe for anyone, including the migrants themselves. And we wrote a letter to the pastor, and we were able to successfully stop this plan from moving forward, preserving this community space and the residence itself for our senior citizens who deserve it.
And what else are you hearing from your constituents about the migrant crisis in their communities?
Everyone who's done that has paid the cartel thousands of dollars to be smuggled here. The cartels are making $32 million annually in this trafficking. And so that's what we got to be concerned about as well, is that we're enriching the cartels that are then turning around and selling drugs to Americans and killing them, roughly 100,000, over 100,000 last year alone. The other thing I hear, I have a lot of immigrants in my community, and many of them came legally. They've been patiently waiting in the system, and their cases are being delayed by years because of this influx, because the president right now has a last in, first out approach. So the individuals who are coming, being smuggled by the cartels through the southern border, they're having their asylum cases heard first, pushing everyone else who's been waiting to the end of the line, which is just completely unfair to the people who have followed the rules.
And Congresswoman, the House Homeland Security Committee will mark up its articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas today. How confident are you they'll get the votes they need?
I believe we will get the votes. We may even potentially get Democrat votes because people seeing what's happening can't deny that there's been an abdication in their responsibility to secure the border. I mean, there are a number of laws in the Immigration Naturalization Act that they are violating. They're supposed to detain and deport many of the individuals who are coming over the border. More than half of them do not qualify for asylum. They are being denied actually in court. And again, it's unfair to the person like my constituent from Belarus who's been waiting since 2017 to have her asylum case heard. All these people that are coming in and claiming asylum when they're not legitimate asylum seekers are hurting the true asylum seekers who have been waiting patiently. And so we have to fix the system, and the way we do that is by securing the border. As you know, the House passed a bill that would end this crisis today. But aside from that, we do need more judges to clear this backlog. But we can't clear the backlog if we continue to allow this unsustainable flow of 2-3 million people a year.
Lastly, what do you think about the Senate's current plan to fix the border crisis?
Well, the problem with the Senate's plan is it doesn't actually have a border security aspect to it. If you're allowing 1.8 million people to continue to be smuggled by the cartels and say that's okay, that number, what you're doing is just legalizing what is happening. What we really need, again, is to secure this border, to stem the flow. Let's get through this backlog of people that have been waiting legally for work authorization, for green cards, for asylum, and for citizenship. And then we can start looking at how to, for our employment needs, if we have a labor shortage at that point, we can start looking at visas. We can start looking at how do we address the asylum process, and we can start providing more employer-sponsored opportunities to come to the United States and from family-sponsored opportunities to come to the United States. That's the way it should be done in an orderly process, but just saying that it's okay for 5,000 people who each of them pay thousands of dollars to the cartel to come into our country is wrong. We shouldn't incentivize it by any means, because women are getting raped on this journey, children are getting exploited, and we have to, it's not for anyone, the broken and open border that our president created.
Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Millions of people living along the West Coast are readying themselves for severe weather. Alerts have been issued for those in the storm's path. An atmospheric river brings high winds and heavy snowfall. Flood watches have been issued in northern and central California this week. As an atmospheric river continues its path from California to British Columbia, people living in its path are bracing for extreme weather as well as flood watches and landslides. Severe weather warnings are in place for over 12 million people in Northern California, extending to Central California by Friday. In Southern California, flood watches remain until Friday morning. Wind alerts affect over 6 million people in Western California and Oregon, with wind speeds potentially reaching 75 miles per hour. The Sierra Nevada mountains could see up to 3 feet of snow. Meanwhile, the U.S. could witness 130 daily temperature records broken this week due to these intense weather conditions. The designer
is heading toward the impeachment of a cabinet official. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is firing back at House Republicans. NTD's Melina Wisecup joins us now live from Capitol Hill, where she's been talking to lawmakers. So, Melina, what are some of those members of Congress saying at this time?
Steve, Democrats are trying to push the message that this is an act on Republicans' behalf to try to comply with former President Trump's demands, but Republicans say this is their last resort to try to force the federal government to enforce current immigration laws. Republicans keep pointing to the sheer numbers alone of those record-high illegal crossings. Just in December, for example, we saw 300,000 illegal crossings. Now, at the same time, we're talking about 2 articles of impeachment they're filing against Alejandro Mayorkas right now. One piece of this accuses Mayorkas of failing to enforce those current immigration laws. Another piece is more contested. They accuse Mayorkas of not complying with Congress's demands on this issue. Now, Democrats say that these articles of impeachment lack evidence. Take a look at what they said.
They don't have any witness who said that there was bribery, treason, or high crimes or misdemeanors that were committed.
He's breaking the laws Congress has passed. It says shall detain. He's not doing that. In fact, he's turned it upside down, created policies that speed people into the country. I have a duty to do what's right, so I'll do it anyway, even if we don't pass it on my side of the aisle.
Now, Mayorkas has responded to these articles of impeachment against him today, saying, "I assure you that your false accusations do not rattle me," saying that he's provided lawmakers with hours of testimony and records to demonstrate his efforts to secure the border. Steve?
So, Melina, some Democrats are pushing this off as a political stunt. What did they say is the cause for this record-high illegal crossings that we're seeing at the southern border?
So we asked a few Democrats just exactly this question to get their take here, because this is really the heart of the issue of why Republicans want to file these articles of impeachment against Mayorkas and why they've been so harsh on the Biden administration. Democrats push back with a number of different arguments. They say that there are economic fallouts around the world. They say that there's an asylum backlog, so we need to update our immigration law. They also attribute it to a lack of resources that Congress has sent to DHS. One very vocal critic that's been speaking out during this hours-long hearing, Congressman Dan Goldman, told me exactly what he thinks about the matter. Watch.
Some numbers that is more reflective of migration patterns, of crumbling governments, of climate destruction, of corruption, of violence, not only in Central and South America, but around the world.
Now, as for these articles of impeachment, Steve, that House committee is still at this moment marking up these articles of impeachment. They've been in committee since 10 a.m. this morning. Democrats are really trying to drag this thing out as long as they can and push back as hard and as strong as they can. But once it does leave committee, it will go to the full floor for a vote. where Speaker Mike Johnson says he wants to see a very quick vote, even though he's working with a very razor-thin majority. Steve?
NTD's Melina Weiskup with a live report from Capitol Hill. Thank you, Melina. Amid efforts to impeach one of his cabinet members, President Biden today says he's done everything possible to tackle that immigration crisis. But House Speaker Mike Johnson isn't buying it. NTD's Arian Pazdar has a border update.
Texas still showing no signs of following requests from the Biden administration to vacate Shelby Park in Eagle Pass. This comes as 26 attorneys general sent a letter to the Biden administration on Monday. They write, what you should do is simple, enforce the law and protect the border. If you cannot bring yourselves to enforce the law, get out of the way so Texas can. On Tuesday, Fox News asked President Biden if he could do more to secure the border.
That's not all I can do. Just give me the power. I've asked for the very day I got in office. Give me the border patrol. Give me the people, the judges. Give me the people who can stop this and make it work right.
House Speaker Mike Johnson
He
responded
dismantled
to Biden's
it.
comments, saying he's either lying or misinformed. He says Biden could restrict entry, start expedited removals, mandatory detention, and more. And as Texas continues to install fencing, illegal immigration keeps increasing in California. Fox News reports that Border Patrol's San Diego sector apprehended over 1,300 illegal immigrants on Monday alone. 160 of them are Chinese citizens. And part of a trucker convoy departed Florida on Tuesday morning. They're heading to Louisiana. Truckers from across the country are scheduled to hold rallies in cities along the border on Saturday. And the city of Denver has become the latest city struggling to support all arriving immigrants. NBC News reports that the city is now limiting the days immigrants can spend at city shelters. And a city hospital is reportedly asking for $10 million to cover unpaid medical bills for immigrants. The city's mayor says that he will need $100 million throughout the year of 2024 to support all arriving people. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
The crazy idea of putting alligators in the Rio Grande. Hell, you might as well put a school of piranha in there. And, you know, shooting people in the leg, that's stupid.
Desert. Officers say the homicides are linked to a marijuana dispute in San Bernardino County. NTD's Stephanie Sakal has the story.
Authorities in San Bernardino County have arrested 5 individuals in connection with the murder of 6 victims found in a remote desert area near El Mirage.
I'm pleased to announce that the 5 suspects that you see on this chart to my right were those responsible for this homicide.
The suspects, all men in their 20s and 30s, are being held without bail pending further investigation. The county coroner's office has identified 4 out of the 6 victims.
The name of the 4th victim is still being withheld pending next of kin notification. Victim number 1 is Baldemar Mondragon Albaran, 34-year-old resident of Adelanto. Victim number 2, Franklin Noel Bonilla, 22-year-old Hispanic male adult from Hesperia. Victim number 3, Kevin Darial Bonilla, 25-year-old Hispanic male adult, resident of Hesperia. Victim number 4 was a 45-year-old Hispanic male adult. Victims 5 and 6 have yet to be identified. Investigators believe Franklin Bonilla was the subject who called 911 after being shot by the suspects.
Through extensive investigation and with the assistance of the Sheriff's Narcotics and Specialized Enforcement Divisions, on January 28th, officers were able to serve multiple search warrants in the town of Apple Valley, Adelanto, and the Los Angeles County area of Pinon Hill.
As far as the motives, we are confident that this appears to be a dispute over marijuana, which resulted in the murders.
Firearms recovered from the scene are being tested while authorities are exploring possible cartel connections. Stephanie Sakal, NTD News.